Salamun alaikum, dear Muslim believers. There are many controversial issues about Quran and Islam. Wife beating is believed to be stated by God in the Quran in chapter number 4, Surah Nisa, verse number 34, is one of the most misunderstood issue for years. We heard this criticism from Christians, atheists, agnostic, ex-Muslims, etc. Personally, every time I read Surah Nisa verse number 34, I felt something was wrong. How does God, the most merciful, order us to beat our women? What kind of solution is that? Almost all the translations have mistranslated the three keywords or terms of this particular verses. These are qawwamuna, nushuzahunna, wadribuhun. The problem comes from the word wadribuhun, which we used to translate as beat them. The root of this word is daraba. If you look at any Arabic dictionary, you will find a long list of meaning ascribed to this word. Or you can also say that it can be said that daraba is the number one multi-meaning word in Arabic. It has so many different meanings. We can find numerous different meanings ascribed to it in the glorious Quran. To travel, to get out, in chapter number 3, verse number 156. To strike, in chapter number 7, verse number 160. Chapter number 8, verse number 12. To beat, in chapter number 8, verse number 50. To set up, in chapter number 43, verse number 58. To take away or to ignore, in chapter number 43, verse number 5. To condemn, in chapter number 2, verse number 61. To seal or to draw over, in chapter number 18, verse number 11. To cover, in chapter number 24, verse number 31. To explain, in chapter number 13, verse number 17. As you can see, we can witness the verb daraba, at least in the Quran, at least 10 different meanings. When we encounter a multi-meaning word, we select the proper meaning. According to the context form and common sense. For instance, if we have translated daraba in chapter number 13, verse number 17 as beat instead of explain, the meaning would be ridiculous. The correct translation is the God thus explained the truth and falsehood in chapter number 13, verse number 17. The next word, nushuz, which is generally translated as opposition, has another meaning which can be translated as degree of disloyalty, ranging from filtration to sexual liaison. If we study carefully, we will find a clue that leads us to translate the word as flirting, cheating, or extramarital affairs. The same word nushuz is used in chapter number 4, Surah Nisa, verse number 128. Is used to describe the misbehavior of husband, not wives, as in chapter number 4, verse number 34, Surah Nisa, verse number 34. So the traditional translation of nushuz, as that is opposition, will not fit here. The meaning of nushuz is disloyalty, is appropriate for both cases in chapter number 4, verse number 128 and verse number 34, Surah Nisa. When we read chapter number 4, verse number 34, Surah Nisa, verse number 34, we should not understand wadribuhun as beat those women. We must remember that this word has so many different meanings. I would like to present my suggestion for the translation of Surah Nisa, verse number 34. Men traditionally take care of women since God has endowed each of them with certain qualities, and men spend from their financial resources. The righteous women are obedient to God, and during the absence of their husband, they honor them according to God's commandment. As for those women whom you are experiencing a fear of disloyalty from, you shall first advise them. If they continue, you may desert them in the bed. Then you explain them. If they obey you, then don't transgress against them. God is most high, supreme. Those who interpret the word wadribuhun to mean physically beat are in fact violating three Quranic principles, such as In chapter number 5, verse number 87, God says, "Do not transgress God. God does not like the aggressors." God prohibits all aggressions. To physically beat another person is an act of aggression. To physically beat another person is an act of aggression, no matter what justification anyone may have. In chapter number 30, verse number 21, God says, He places in your heart love and care towards your spouse. God commands husbands and wives to treat with each other love and to treat each other with love and mercy. Once again, beating up wife is not a merciful act. In chapter number 4, Surah Nisa, verse number 19, men are told specifically to treat their wife bil maroof, which means kindness. Inshallah, we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.